Sure. So our agency started in a very experimental mode where when generative AI came out and blew up and people started realizing what was possible, we decided that we wanted to move aggressively but not recklessly towards integrating it into our workflow and finding ways we could use it to help us better meet our mission and the needs of Texans. And so what we did was we had all the divisions get together and come up with a set of use cases. And then those were reviewed and determined, which use cases would be approved, and then which some basic rules like don't put personally identifiable information into the model, especially if it's an external facing model. So that was kind of stage one, was let's let everybody get their hands a little bit dirty and figure out what the possibilities are, because it was all promises when we started. It's kind of still all promises, but that promise is starting to come together. Then we've been moving more recently into a more formal governance phase where we have we have a set of sandboxes that we set up where we can safely work with personally identifiable information without that information escaping out into the larger model because the data is fully sandboxed. But the reality is that in our agency, AI has been in use for more than a decade. It's not just about generative AI. What we've been doing is we've been using it in the form of machine learning and predictive analytics to better figure out who needs assistance, who we should be reaching out to, the types of services we should be offering. And in doing so, a really important part of that is developing a strategy to ensure that data quality, because it's not just about the data quality, it's not just about the model quality, it's about the model in production quality, right? So you can build a perfect model that has no bias whatsoever, that does not cause disparate impacts to different groups, and yet, over time, those models could stray. So what once was clean now might have issues, and so it's critical that you have an active monitoring system in place, that when you put an algorithm into production, when you're using it to make decisions that affect people's lives, you absolutely have to have some mechanism for going back and continuously monitoring it, ensuring that if the model is not producing the way that you thought it would, or it now has some features that are undesirable, like bias, that you have a way to correct that, improve on it, and then continue to move forward. So I think that it's really critical that first and foremost, don't do AI to do AI. Do AI to solve a problem, a mission-specific problem. Something, yes, there's value in improving your support operations, whether that's HR or your IT or others. So I'm not saying don't do that, that does matter. But where you're gonna have the greatest impact is going to be when you can apply AI directly to your mission. So understanding what are the key problems you're trying to solve and the ways that AI can be used to help you, whether that is in the form of the kind of predictive analytics and machine learning I was talking about to better determine who needs what and to get it to them, or it's using large language models that could be providing information to a caseworker about what's effective or not effective in a situation to try to help that person who's on the phone get what they need more timely and in a more human-centered, human-recognizing fashion. So I think it's really critical to do that. And part of this also is, it is about, when I think about IT modernization, the problem with most IT modernization is that it's focused on the technology and not the business process that you're trying to support with that modernization. And I'd say the exact same thing applies in AI, that it's not about the AI, it's about what the AI is supposed to help you do. And if you start with that premise and think through exactly what you are trying to accomplish, you are more likely to be orienting that towards something that's going to have some real impact. And sometimes you have a problem and AI is not the solution. And don't try to make it the solution, right? There are a lot of things AI can do really well, and there are other things that maybe it can't, or maybe we haven't learned how to make it work. Take the win, apply it where you can, learn from it, and then continue to grow. Honestly, I just gave a talk here this morning, or a little earlier today, and my whole theory was on the idea of artificial intelligence and uncertainty. That we have significant uncertainty throughout life. That life is to some degree about uncertainty, but that uncertainty is now growing. And that AI is a really helpful tool, perhaps, it's going to both cause change and it can help you navigate change. And so I think that certainly large language models are going to continue to get better, that we are going to learn how to deploy them in a manner that is better aligned with your mission and the types of outcomes you're achieving. But beyond that, I think that to some degree we're seeing these things become a little commoditized, right? If you try something in Anthropic or you try something in ChatGPT or Gemini, sometimes it's fun to try the same thing in 3 places and see what you get, and it won't be the same, but it'll be similar, right? So these things are just getting better and better to the point where the technology is going to become almost invisible, and it's going to be much easier to stand up and leverage in your production environment. The best vendor experience I ever had came during the pandemic, where we were being hit. Everyone in the country was being hit with a wave of unemployment insurance fraud. So when Congress adopted a new program of unemployment insurance that was very different than the old one, and it was temporary in nature, it didn't have the same controls on it. And so all these fraudsters who've been getting data from Equifax and all these other leaks over the years suddenly were hammering us. And while I had people with skill who understood machine learning, who understood these things, they didn't have a ton of experience. A lot of them were fairly recent out of school. And so what I was interested in was not a solution. I was interested in partnership in developing a solution with knowledge transfer to ensure that when the product was done, the answer wasn't, now I have to continuously extend this engagement, but rather the vendor is helping me become more capable. And if they're going to do that, and they're going to set me up with leaving us better than we were, not with a black box that we don't understand how to fix and operate and continue to enhance, but rather something that is something foundational we can build on, that's a vendor I'm going to want to work with again in the future. Because I'm interested not in outsourcing what I'm doing, I'm interested in partnering with people in order to become more effective. Honestly, it's the conversations, right? So it's an opportunity to hear other people in presentations and things. It's really fascinating to see how many themes are common from people in different domains who are approaching it from different places and might have a different area of focus, and yet they touch on so many things, like the idea of applying human-centered design principles to improve government, right? We're doing that all over the place, or at least we should be doing that all over the place. So I think those things are great, but also the one-on-ones afterwards, right? So you have a chance to sit down, maybe you're a speaker and someone comes up to you and wants to talk to you about what you did. Maybe you listen to somebody else and you want to go talk to them and try to do that experience. So it's like networking gets a really bad name, but the reality is that networking is really about communication. It's about connection. Ultimately, it's about collaboration, and hopefully it's about community. That's what these types of events allow us to do.